पेट्रोल लगा के रखा था। तो मैं और थर्ड तक बस वही था और कुछ करना नहीं, गेम्स ही नहीं था पापा। रेड कार में चलता है स्ट्रेट रोड पे मैंने ना एक तो उसको बहुत डर किया था एक में क्या अच्छा किसका कमांड टू का मैं अपने को पता है माइनक्राफ्ट I got 4 scientific round. फाइनली आपका लाइन खेला है क्या तुम लोग? हां मैं ना फोर्थ के फर्स्ट scientific माइनक्राफ्ट कराया उसको काफी मेरे अंदर डायमेंशन मिल गया फिर मैं ये अच्छा सीखी वर्ड फंक्शन जनरेट होता है हां तो सेम वर्ड ही ट्रायल में होता है हां अरे यार खेल के ना थर्ड में माइनक्राफ्ट ट्रायल मॉडल रेटिंग कुछ क्या ऑनलाइन देखिए ये सबको पता नहीं था क्या होता है सबको ऑफलाइन जब ये कर जब ये पीएस को जाता है उसका कुछ इवेंट गिराता है भाई एक बार ना मैंने गलती से माइनक्राफ्ट आईपैड में प्ले कर दिया था हां बैठ रहा हूं तो माइनक्राफ्ट डी लॉन्च हर कोई अरे
वो भी उसका एक हीरो बैग वाला सीरियल आता था
सुदेश के भाई के पास वो सीरीज हां सीरीज हो रहा है मैं आपको सारी ये ओपन करना रहता था पीछे उसको मैं डालने की कार्ड यस क्या हां सीरियस हो गई ना ओबीएस वो प्रॉपर्ली पीसी
ग्राफिक्स वाले गेम क्या फायदा तो बिल्कुल फालतू अपडेट्स होते हैं क्या मैं विंडोज 2 में काला करेंगे नेटफ्लिक्स एप्लीकेशन में ना उसको और ग्राफिक्स वाले सेटिंग कुछ फीचर तो PS6 में भी यही होगा PS6 तो टेक्निकली एक बात से पता है फिर हार्डवेयर अपग्रेड करते गए माइनक्राफ्ट वाला वॉलपेपर लगा दिया What is this?
Should we start again? Okay, so we were talking about blood, the composition, functions of the blood that we have to come across. So first of all, the three types of cells I mentioned. RBC, you know the function. WBC, we have been talking about. What is the function of WBCs? Provide immunity, provide defense.
Phagocytosis.
By two major methods, by releasing chemical substances or by phagocytosis. Now what about platelets? When we are talking about platelets, what is the role of the platelets?
To cover up a wound.
By the process of clotting. Majorly to repair injuries and wounds on the surface of the body or also internally. So when we are talking about platelets, these are also specialized blood cells formed by the or formed in the bone marrow. They also do not, this also does not have any nucleus. So when we are talking about the type of blood cells, presently when we are talking about the platelets, what is the function of the platelets? The process of blood clotting. What is blood clotting? When does it happen in our body? Whenever the skin blood vessels are exposed, whenever we talk about a major injury, repair of wounds, healing, surgeries, etc., when it is happening inside the body or on the level of the skin, the process of healing would always be carried out by the platelets. Now, after we are talking about the concept of what is blood, what is the reason that the blood is red in color? The blood is red in color because of the presence of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a respiratory pigment, but it has got an iron component. The iron component in the hemoglobin is reddish in color. But then, is that iron component getting dissolved in the blood to give that red color? No. But then, why still the blood is red? Because the RBCs are numerous. That's why. Whenever we are talking about the blood, the entire plasma, the plasma we actually cannot see. We can only see the RBCs. RBCs are in millions. So I talk about that 1 ml of blood, and in that 1 ml of blood, RBCs are in millions. So that's the reason the entire liquid seems to be just concentrated with RBCs. RBCs having hemoglobin, and hence the blood is red in color. How is the blood getting transported from one part of the body to the other? Now that's the next part that we have to understand. Circulation of the blood all over the body. How is the circulation of the blood all over the body being brought about? With the help of some tube-like structures. What are those tube-like structures known as?
Capillaries.
Those tube-like structures are known as blood vessels. What are blood vessels? What are their types? What would be their function? Now, when we are talking about the blood vessels, what are blood vessels? Tube-like structures starting from the heart, spreading up all over the body and going and meeting the heart again. So these tube-like structures, what are they made up of? These tube-like structures are made up of smooth muscles. These tube-like structures that we are talking about are made up of smooth muscles. So now if I say that these are made up of smooth muscles, what is that one special feature you remember? I had talked about the
involuntary in nature.
Involuntary in nature. The moment I talk about smooth muscles, can you tell me two parts of the respiratory system made up of smooth muscles?
The lungs.
The lungs is not made of smooth muscles.
Alveoli.
Alveoli is fine layer of epithelial tissue that is also not smooth muscles. I explained you two parts of the respiratory system: the windpipe, the bronchi,
and there's one
bronchioles. All are made up of smooth muscles.
and
Can you tell me two parts of the digestive system made up of smooth muscles? The stomach,
and the intestine.
food pipe, intestine, all are made up of smooth muscles, and all of them are involuntary. So here again I talk about the same feature, smooth muscles and involuntary. So the blood is flowing in the blood vessels. Can we regulate the flow of the blood? No, we cannot. We cannot regulate the flow of the blood because the smooth muscles can contract or will contract and relax as per the need of the body. So what are the prominent blood vessels that we have? Three major types of blood vessels if I have to talk about. One, the arteries. One is the artery. Then next is the veins. These are the two most prominent types of blood vessels that we are talking about. The arteries, the veins, and then we talk about another finer blood vessel present in our body. These are the three most prominent ones that we are talking about. We have got some other different types of blood vessels also. What are the three most prominent? Arteries. What are some of the major concepts that you have to remember? Arteries. What are arteries? Arteries will always arise from the heart. Arteries will always start from the heart. They will always start from the heart. So now the arteries will always arise from the heart. So when we are talking about major blood vessels, yes, they arise from the heart. Now, if they are arising from the heart, then what type of blood vessel, what type of blood they must be carrying?
Oxygenated.
The blood that they carry, arteries are basically supposed to carry oxygenated blood, yes, because they are arising from the heart. But there's an exception. You have just
Pulmonary artery.
this exception, whenever you are writing these points, you have to remember to place that correctly. So when we are talking about arteries, yes, what type of blood would the arteries carry? Arteries would always carry oxygenated blood, except for the pulmonary artery. Except for the pulmonary artery, and the pulmonary artery carries blood from where to where? Heart to the lungs. So never mind, we are talking about that the pulmonary artery is not following the rule for an artery carrying the oxygenated blood, but it is carrying blood from the heart to a body organ. That is always the job of an artery, carrying blood from heart to a body organ. That is always the rule. So what type of blood? Yes, the type of blood that it should carry is always oxygenated. The blood that is entering into an artery, the blood that enters into an artery is because of the pumping action of the heart. So definitely the pressure of the blood in the artery should be very high. Very high, yes or no? So because just now I mentioned that the arteries are always arising from the heart is always pumping the blood. So the blood that enters into an artery will always be because of the contraction of the heart. Since it is because of the contraction of the heart, so the pressure of the blood in an artery is always very high. So if I talk about one more feature, the pressure of the blood in an artery is very high. Give reason. This also you get as questions. Give reason. The pressure of the blood in an artery is always high. What is the reason? Because the blood flows in an artery only after the contraction of the heart. So definitely the pressure of the blood will be much more. Since the pressure is much more, they have to be thick walled. Why they have to be thick walled? Because since the pressure of the blood in the artery is so much, they have to resist the pressure. How can they resist the pressure? They can resist the pressure with those thick walls. And if we understand the section, now say suppose if I want to understand the section of an artery, how would the section of an artery look like? The section of an artery will have some layers and layers of cells, and the inner lumen, you know now what is the meaning of the word lumen, the inner cavity. If it is an artery, there are some layers of cells, the inner cavity is very narrow. So what are the two reasons which helps or which aids in the high pressure? The narrow lumen and the pumping action of the heart. Okay, in comparison, if I have to draw the vein, then how should I draw? The vein has got a wide inner space. The walls are comparatively thinner. The walls are comparatively thinner. And now, what are some points of comparison if I talk about the veins? So I say, if it is the artery always arises from the heart. Then if it is a vein, from where to where is it carrying the blood? The vein would always arise from body organs or tissues. So it carries blood. It would carry blood from the body parts to the heart. Body parts to the heart. A vein always carries blood from body parts to the heart. So that's the first difference now. If it is an artery would always carry blood from the heart to the body parts, and if it is a vein, it will always carry blood from the body parts to the heart. So I understand the blood vessel which is carrying blood from the stomach to the heart. Which type of blood vessel it is? A vein. A blood vessel which carries blood from the heart to the muscles is always an artery. Okay. The type of blood. Now, what type of blood would a vein carry? Always deoxygenated blood. The definition of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood I discussed already in the previous section. A vein would always carry deoxygenated blood. Now, can you tell me, now that you are already aware about the concept of respiration, why is the blood which is brought from the tissues deoxygenated? That is what we are writing, no? The vein carry blood from the tissues to the heart, and the vein carry blood which is deoxygenated. Why is the blood carried from the tissue is deoxygenated?
Because the oxygen is used to utilize.
Contain carbon dioxide.
Because from the tissues or in the tissue cells, oxygen is utilized and carbon dioxide is released. So definitely the blood which passes by the tissues, here you will have to again remember the concept of tissue respiration. The blood which passes by the tissues picks up carbon dioxide from the tissues, becomes deoxygenated. But exception here, what is the exception here? Except the pulmonary vein. So the pulmonary vein carries blood from where to where?
From the heart to the
From the lungs to the heart, and the type of the blood that it carries is oxygenated. So these exceptions you will have to remember. I talk about the pulmonary artery here, and I talk about the pulmonary vein here. Pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein. What is the difference? This is the major difference to write always. Okay, now next we talk about. What about the pressure of the blood? What do you think? The blood which has been brought from the blood which has been brought from the tissues. The tissues are not showing any contraction, pumping is not there like the heart. So should the blood which has been brought from the tissues also have a high pressure, very high pressure? Should they have a very high pressure?
No.
No. The heart is pumping, constantly contracting. So the vessel which is very close to the heart, the heart throws the blood into that vessel, definitely will have high pressure. But now I'm saying that the veins always carry blood from a tissue. Tissues are not contracting. So definitely the vessel which is associated with the tissue or the body part will never have a very high pressure. So I can say that what about the pressure here? For the veins, the blood flows at a low pressure. Blood flows at a low pressure always. First is, why does the blood flow at a low pressure in the veins? Now for these two reasons. Number one, since the blood is flowing from a tissue and the tissues are not contracting, so definitely the pressure is low. Number two, if you look into the feature, the structural feature of the vein has got a wide lumen. That also is a reason why the pressure is low. And on top of that, there is one more reason why the pressure of the blood is low is veins are always carrying blood from the body parts towards the heart. So actually the veins are carrying blood against the gravity. That is also one added reason why the pressure of the blood in the vein is lesser. If I talk about the artery, yes, gravitational force also acts while the blood is rushing down. Because majority of our body parts are all below the heart. We only talk about the shoulder and the arms and the head and the neck part, which is above the heart. Rest, majority of our body parts are all below the heart. So if I talk about a blood vessel carrying blood from the heart to the body organs, it is always for the gravitational force, the blood is also rushing down. Small lumen, narrow lumen, and the pumping action. All these are the factors why the pressure of the blood in the artery is high. Thick wall. Now since the pressure is less, they don't have to have thick walls. So they can have thin walls, and that is what they have. The walls of a vein are always thin. They are thin walled. Veins are always thin walled. But just now I mentioned that whenever I talk about the movement of the blood from the body parts to the heart, I talk about the movement of the blood from the body parts to the heart. So now, if you have to understand the movement of the body parts, the movement of the blood from the body parts to the heart, we try understanding, just think, the blood is moving against gravity. Does it have a chance that the blood would get lifted up a little bit, move in the blood vessels, and again move down? Are there any chances that if I talk about a blood vessel like a vein this way, and if I understand that this is our feet and the blood has to go a long distance to the heart, are there any chances that the blood rises up and then again falls back? है ना, chances तो है. So now when I talk about the blood which is moving from our feet, from our legs, from the stomach region, from the intestine, when it is moving towards the heart, there are ample number of times chances when the blood would rise up and again fall down. Rise up and again fall down. और अगर ऐसे सच में होता हमारी body में, then can you think how much time would have been required for a small amount of blood from our feet to go to the lungs, to the heart? Long time. बहुत ज़्यादा time लग जाता. So does it actually happen? No, the amount of the blood from our toes also can reach the heart in few minutes. So how is it possible? Against the gravity move, okay, how can it move? How can it reach our heart in few minutes? Because when we look into these type of blood vessels, that is the veins, on the inner wall of the veins, there are some muscular flap-like structures on the inner walls of the veins. There are some muscular flaps, and what are these muscular flaps known as? These muscular flaps are known as valves. What are these muscular flaps known as? These muscular flaps are known as valves. Where are they present? On the inner wall of the veins. Arteries में है? No, arteries में ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. That's the reason they are not there. So I talk about the vein, looking into the internal structure of the vein. How are these veins? Structurally, we always see on the inner wall of the veins, there are muscular flaps at regular intervals. So now that the blood starts moving up, there are hardly any chance where the blood would drop down again. So whenever the blood is moving up, even if the blood has a tendency of moving down, dropping down, the blood is all getting accumulated here, and by the time a small amount of blood has moved up, what will happen? These valves will fill in and they will close. So this muscular flaps, again made up of smooth muscles. So these muscular flaps, they can contract and relax. So when specific amount of blood is moving up, they will all relax and they will shut down. Now that they shut down, something like this, now that they shut down, what has happened to the blood which has come up? They all will accumulate here. And the next time when we move our body parts, it will rush upwards. No chance that it goes down again. So this is the method how the blood in a vein moves. If this type of valves would not have been there, then what would have happened? Every time there would have been backflow of the blood. बार-बार backflow हो जाता था. So a specific amount of blood moving from the leg, moving from the toes to the heart would have been a big job for us. So every time now that you are moving your body, every time now that I'm walking, now that I'm moving my hand, the blood in the veins constantly moving up. एक थोड़ा सा जाने के बाद they get locked, no chance to come back. You have to go forward. So that is the process that is happening in our body. So what are these muscular flaps on the inner walls of the veins known as valves? What are valves meant for? Valves are meant for preventing the backflow of the blood. Valves are meant for preventing the backflow. They don't allow the backflow so that the blood can move in a unidirectional manner every time. So now here, why don't we have valves? I just now mentioned arteries. We don't have valves because the blood is as it is rushing. Backflow होने का कोई chance ही नहीं. What are the two reasons backflow नहीं होगा artery? What are the two reasons why backflow of the blood doesn't happen in the arteries? Number one,
Majority of the arteries are
below the heart, and number
number
two, blood flows due to gravitational force. And the most important factor
blood has the
because
pressure in artery, the blood pressure in arteries is high.
is because of the pumping action of the heart. Pumping action of the heart के वजह से blood is forced to rush from the heart to other body parts. Okay. Now, these are the major differences. Something more also we'll have to talk about. Arteries and vein, the type of the blood. Now, let us understand. What is the difference in the nature of the blood? Oxygenated, deoxygenated. What is the difference in the color of the blood? Arteries, oxygenated hai. The blood in the arteries oxygenated hai. So since the blood in the arteries are oxygenated, they are light red in color. Did you ever check what is the color of the blood when you go for a blood test? क्या है?
Red.
Red?
Dark
red. So if those of you had gone for a blood test and if you have seen what is the color of the blood in those vials that the pathologist would collect, the color of the blood is actually very dark. Why? Loaded with carbon dioxide. Why? Because they are taking the blood from your veins. They are not taking the blood from your arteries. They are taking the blood from our veins always. So the color of the blood in an artery is always light red. Color of the blood in a vein is always dark red. Dark red it is. So color of the blood in a vein, dark red. Why? Give reason. Color of the blood in an artery, in a vein is dark red because it is deoxygenated. It has got a very high concentration of carbon dioxide. Yeah. All of you will write down these 5-6 differences that I have been talking about. Last one more point. Arteries can we see on our body? On different parts of our body. Can you see the arteries?
No.
No, because arteries are deeply placed near the tissues. Arteries are deeply placed near the tissues. But the vessels that you get to see here, the vessels that you get to see here, what type of vessels are these? These are the veins. And if you look into these vessels also, you can see that the blood inside those vessels appears to be bluish. Yes, but it is not blue. When the blood is drawn out from those vessels, it is understood that it is dark red. So, why does it appear blue? Because of the skin proteins it appears blue, but actually it is not blue, it is dark red in color. Okay. Now, what is the relation between the blood vessels, that is the arteries, and then the capillaries? Let us try to understand what is the basic difference between the arteries, veins, and the capillaries. So, I am talking about an artery. Artery carries oxygenated blood. Now, in all this set of diagrams, oxygenated is always represented in red color. Deoxygenated always represented in blue, because हमारे body में भी वो blue ही दिखता है. So always represented as blue. Okay. So in between, now this is an artery. The artery will always break up to form a network of finer blood vessels. What are these network of finer blood vessels known as, which is running over the tissues? This network of finer blood vessels are known as capillaries. So I understand that this is the stomach or the liver, any particular organ. So the blood vessel which is moving towards the stomach will break up into hundreds of finer blood vessels, capillaries. But on the other side, if I see, these capillaries will again unite to form the vein. So what is the relation between these three vessels? Arteries, capillaries, and then the vein. So the relation is the arteries would always divide to form a network of blood vessels. Now I talk about arteries to capillaries, but arteries or capillaries के बीच में और set of vessels है. That also you will have to learn right now. So now when we are talking about, first of all, let us see the general part. Arteries divide into a network of blood vessels, and which are those blood vessels? These are known as the capillaries. Capillaries on the other side of any body organ will again unite to form broader tubes, and these broader tubes are known as vessels. I'm sorry, veins. So now, when we are talking about this capillary, so ये capillaries कहाँ पे है? On the surface of the body tissues. So this capillaries, if I want to understand what is the location of these capillaries, they are on the body tissues. They are all present on the surface of the body tissues. Any type of organ, any type of tissue, any muscle you can think of. The stomach, the intestine, the liver, the pancreas, the skeletal muscles of the hand. On the surface, what is there? Deep inside, what is there? Capillaries. Capillaries, all the capillaries there. So, can I say that this is the capillaries only which is providing nourishment, nutrients, oxygen, etc. to the body cells? Yes. So far, till the concept of respiration you had studied, blood supplies oxygen to the body cells. But blood, by the way of which vessel? Artery? No, capillaries. So when I think of capillaries, capillaries are the type of blood vessels. Capillaries are the type of blood vessels which are very, very thin. And the walls can undergo the process of diffusion, give out all the different type of oxygen, nutrients, etc. to the body cells. Arteries does not show diffusion. Why? Because the walls are thick. Thick walls. Even veins also, they cannot show diffusion. Walls are thick. So in the previous figure I showed you, compare the walls of a artery, vein and capillary. See here again. Compare the walls of the artery, vein and capillary. Artery, if it is this thick, vein is this. Are you able to see? Arteries, if it is this thick, veins, and see for the capillaries. Capillaries का जो ये feature that I am talking about is same like the alveolus, same like the villus. कौन सा feature के बारे में मैं बोल रही हूँ? Thin wall. Same है feature. Capillaries also show the process of diffusion. And now that we are talking about diffusion of oxygen, carbon dioxide, is not through the artery, not through the vein, only through the capillaries. Why? How are capillaries adapted to carry out diffusion? Walls are thin. Single layer of epithelial cells. Same in villus, same in alveolus, alveoli. Okay. So this feature you have to remember. Now, when we are talking about the capillary, some features of capillary now, they are the finest blood vessels. Capillaries are the finest blood vessels. So when we are talking about the capillaries, these are very close to the body tissues, very close to body cells and tissues, and they show the process of gaseous exchange. They show the process of diffusion of nutrients, diffusion of hormones and nutrients, etc. So this is their function. So capillaries bring about all these different type of function, the distribution of the nutrients and the oxygen and the carbon dioxide and etc. all by the process of diffusion because their wall is very thin. Clear hai? Arteries, veins, capillaries. Are you clear about the differences and the points? And majorly to talk about the capillaries. So now, name the blood vessel which starts from an artery and ends in a vein. What type of blood vessels?
Capillaries.
Capillaries. They are intermediate. एक artery और एक vein के बीच में the network of vessels always capillaries. They have got thin walls. They allow the substances diffuse, transport, all these. Yeah. Now, these are the different type of blood vessels we are talking about. After the concept of blood vessels, next is we'll try understanding the structure of the heart. Next day you'll have to draw this diagram. So today I'm not telling you to draw. The previous two diagrams are they over?
Yeah.
Huh?
I had no idea about this one.
ये excuse पुराना है.
I'm done actually. I've done 2 tests.
How many of you had shown me? I don't remember anybody showing me those diagrams. हाँ किया था? You showed me. Element this one I gave you digestive. हाँ elementary digestive system हो गया. हाँ very good. Very good. Practice करो. Similar type of diagram if you are able to draw in the paper, then for sure you get 2 marks. Diagram में marks lose नहीं होना चाहिए बिल्कुल भी. Okay, now when we are talking about the concept of this is the diagram that you have in your textbook. This diagram you'll have to practice. Take this diagram, it is there in the syllabus. In this chapter, life process, 4 diagrams majorly. Now, 5 diagrams are there. In this chapter itself, there are some 5 to 6 diagrams that you'll have to draw. Please take a note before I forget. Mention the side of the textbook. You write down कौन-कौन से diagrams practice करना है. 2 already I told you. The first one is the digestive system in human. Nutrition in amoeba. These are the diagrams you'll have to practice. Nutrition in amoeba. Digestive system in human. Respiratory system in human. Respiratory system in human. Then section of human heart. Section of human heart. Number 4 is excretory system in human. This is very easy, right? Excretory system in human. Acha, open close stomata also I forgot to mention. That also different class. Open close stomata we likh lo. And structure of nephron. Open close stomata hai and the structure of nephron. 6 diagrams, right? 6 hai? 7 ho gaya? 7 hai? So this 6, 7 diagrams from this chapter you will have to keep practicing. Okay, now let us learn about the structure of the human heart. Let us learn about the structure of the human heart. Once you are aware, then only we will draw the diagram. But this diagram drawing, next class all of you should have your pencils. We are going to draw the diagram next class. Let us learn about the structure of the human heart. Now this is the mammalian heart. What are mammals? Are you aware? Mammals किसे कहते हैं? Which group of organisms are mammals?
The animals which give birth directly.
To young ones. Or which type of animal forms are mammals? Mammals are animal forms which have got the external ear. Mammals are animal forms which has got body hair. Apart from all the other features, ये दो हमेशा distinctive है that you have to remember. There are many other features, giving birth to the young ones and the type of the reproductive organs and the characteristics. There are many more to talk about. But major क्या है? Basic क्या है? Basic. Any type of an organism which has got the external ear is a mammal. Type of animal forms which has got body hair, scanty or profuse, जो भी होने दो, body hair है तो mammal है. Give me 4 examples. वही याद है सबसे पहले.
Humans.
Cat. और हाँ वो तो मैंने बताया और कुछ बोलो.
Sheep.
The sheep and the goat and the rabbit.
Cow.
I mean, even dolphins are mammals.
कहाँ पे बॉडी है दिखा कभी डॉल्फिन के बॉडी? हाँ, these are aquatic mammals. Correct. Dolphin also dolphin and the whale. These are also mammals, but then they have got some special features. They are aquatic, so definitely they will not have body hair. They are aquatic, but then why are we saying that they are mammals? Because apart from few characteristics, majority of the characteristics same like us. They have got lungs as the respiratory organ, the process of kidneys, etc., etc. The rest of the physiological functions are almost same like us. Never mind, they don't have few characteristics like us. We are now talking about the structure of the heart. Naam yaad rakhte jao. Try to understand the terms and the process. This is the structure of the human heart, mammalian heart. Mammalian heart is always 4-chamber. Mammalian heart is always 4-chambered. Chambered matlab the entire heart is divided into 4 compartments. So when I talk about the entire heart is divided into 4 compartments, see here it is very clear, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there is no connection between these 2 chambers, there is no connection between these 2 chambers, matlab vertically also or horizontally also no 2 chambers can exchange blood. Kyunki between any 2 chambers this type of muscular wall is there. Muscular wall is there. तो इस तरह के muscular wall यहाँ पे तो very prominent दिख रहा है, but इस तरह के muscular walls are here also, here also, here also. So the first feature of mammalian heart is the heart is 4-chambered. Then what is the significance of the 4-chambered heart? There is no mixing of the blood. Already I told you, the blood which will go out from the heart is
Deoxygenated.
go out from the heart is the blood which will go out from the heart is oxygenated. The blood which will enter the heart is deoxygenated. So now inside the heart, can the oxygenated blood which is now collected here and the deoxygenated blood from the body tissues which is going to enter here, is there any possibility that the good and the bad blood, there's no technical word, but I'm just speaking these words. So when we are talking about the oxygenated and the deoxygenated the blood, is there any possibility that they mix inside the heart? Kabhi nahi. No. Then can you think, iska benefit हमें क्या मिल रहा है? What is the benefit? What is the significance in our body? ये good blood and bad blood कभी mix ही नहीं होता है हमारे heart में. The oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood never mixes. यहाँ पे oxygenated blood store होता है which has to go out, and यहाँ पे deoxygenated blood store होता है which has to go to the lungs. So these two chambers, none of these chambers can exchange blood. What is the significance?
The deoxygenated blood will always go to lungs to oxygenate, and the oxygenated blood will always go to the organs.
अच्छा, हम ये वाले point हमेशा याद रखेंगे. What is the significance? Mammalian heart is 4-chambered, mixing of the blood not allowed. So great thing क्या है हमारे heart की? हमारे heart की great feature is only that this oxygenated blood, when it has to go to the tissues, it is supplying a large amount of oxygen. अगर ये mix होता, say suppose this wall is not there or partially formed, then what would have been the problem? The oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood is always getting diluted, mix हो जाता था. So if this blood is now going to the tissues, would it carry that much of the oxygen? No, the amount of the oxygen supplied to the tissues would have been much lesser. So this blood, which is purely oxygenated, is going to the tissues and supplying a large amount of oxygen. So large amount of oxygen हमारे tissues को मिलेगा, तो what big job it is going to do?
It's going to make sure that we get our muscles get enough energy.
Cellular respiration we have studied already. So what is the significance that our heart is 4-chambered? The mixing of the blood does not happen, so that our tissues get large amount of oxygen supply and in return produce a huge amount of energy. Is it the same happening in all the other vertebrates? If I talk about the heart of the fishes, no, the heart of the fishes almost, if I just put off this part, the heart of the fishes is just half of it. One upper chamber, one lower chamber. The blood is entering, the blood is going out, and every time there is mixing of the blood in the lower chamber. So the blood which is going to the body tissues of the fishes and the frogs is partially oxygenated, not fully oxygenated like us. So the energy supply also definitely will be much lesser. Energy release also much lesser. What about in the case of the other group of vertebrates like the reptiles? What about the reptiles? Reptiles have got the reptiles also have got two upper chambers and one common lower chamber. The blood is entering, the blood is going out. So lower chamber may, though the lower chamber is a big chamber, but still mixing of blood is happening. Except for few reptiles, jahan pe heart is four chamber, like the crocodiles and all. Only they have four chamber heart. What about the birds? They have four chamber heart. But the complexity, never mind, is not like us, but still they have four chamber heart, jahan pe mixing of the blood zyada nahi ho raha hai. So now the first thing that we have to remember, what is the significance of the four-chambered heart? Take out your notebook. Let us write down the first question. Write down the topic, transportation. We are talking about the structure of the heart. The first question that's important we have to take. What is the significance of the four-chambered heart in mammals? What is the significance of the four-chambered heart in mammals? Significance of four-chambered heart in mammals. Right now, mammals have four-chambered heart in which mammals have four-chambered hearts in which the right side of the heart containing the deoxygenated blood, the right side of the heart containing the deoxygenated blood is separate from the left side of the heart, containing oxygenated blood. First stop. This is of great importance. As the blood that is pumped out, from the heart to the body tissues, provides or supplies a large amount of oxygen, and the tissue cells in return utilizes tissue cells in return utilizes the oxygen to break down glucose, releasing
Utilizes the oxygen.
to break down glucose, releasing large amount of energy. Releasing a large amount of energy. So that is the significance, that is the importance. Now, where is the heart located? What is the location of the heart? The location of the heart, we always write. I talk about the structure of the heart. What should you write? What is the location?
Yes,
In the chest cavity. The location of the heart in the chest cavity, between the lungs. So when we are talking about the position of the lungs, what is the position of the lungs? Yes, straight away in the chest cavity. And where is the heart? Slightly tilted towards the left. The chest cavity between the lungs, slightly tilted towards the left chest cavity. What is the size of the heart? The size of our fist. That's the size of our heart. Looking into the chambers of the heart, first of all. Okay, before I talk about the chambers, the outer protective covering. What is the outer protective covering of the heart known as? This is known as pericardium. What is pericardium? This is made up of epithelial tissues. What is this pericardium? It is the outer protective covering of the heart. It is the outer protective covering. Made up of what? It is made up of epithelial tissues. Made up of epithelial tissues. Now, when we are talking about the chambers, now let us talk about the chambers. What are the upper chambers of the heart known as? The upper chambers of the heart are known as the auricle or the atrium. What are the lower chambers known as? The lower chambers are known as the ventricles. Okay. So two upper chambers, the right and the left. Now, the diagram that you have in your book or the diagram that you get in your question paper, how will you identify which one is the right side, which one is the left side? Now, say suppose this is the diagram of the heart. The diagram of the heart is here. When I have to label the parts, I cannot label this as the right side. So it is something like place it on your body, then which is the right side? Your left side is actually the right side. Am I clear? Are you understanding what I'm speaking? If you straight away go by your right hand and your left hand side, placing the diagram, labeling your diagram entirely will be wrong. So when we talk about labeling the diagram, as if place it on your body. So when we place it on our body, yes, this was supposed to be the left side according to my hand. This was the left side. But no, this is actually the right side of the heart. And if I just go by the diagram here, this was supposed to be my right hand side. But no, this is not the right side. This is the right side. I'm sorry, this is the right side. This is the left side. Understanding? So look into the diagram that you have in your textbook. Look into the diagram that you have in your volume. All of it. Look into that diagram there. Look into that diagram there. Be very sure which one is the right side, which one is the left side of the heart. Look into the diagram, which is the right side, which is the left side of the heart. So for labeling the diagram, there should not be any confusion. Okay. So again, this is the diagram. Check there. This is the diagram of the heart. So if I have to label the diagram, then I should have labeled this as the right ventricle. This is my right side. But this is not the right ventricle. This is the left ventricle. Clear, no? Are you understanding? So keep that in mind when you label the parts. Now, talking about the structure of the heart. Which are the upper chambers? Auricle. Two types of chambers of the heart. The chambers of the heart. So when we are talking about the chambers of the heart, what are the two types of chambers? One known as auricles. also known as the atria, singular, atrium. Atria, plural. Atrium, singular. Atria, plural. What is the other type of chambers?
Ventricle.
The other type of chambers are ventricles. So these are the two types of chambers. Now let us learn features about them. Auricles, the first one if you check here. When we are talking about the auricles, I talk about the right side first. The right auricle. What type of blood does the right auricle collect? So always to remember, now that I talk about the right side of the heart, now that I'm talking about the right side of the heart, okay, this is just for drawing. Here the parts not very clear to understand. So I think this you can easily follow. This diagram you can easily follow. So I can talk about the right side. Okay. See, the right side, they are showing the blue vessels, meaning what? The right side will contain or will collect deoxygenated blood. So this right auricle, the first upper chamber that I talk about, the first upper chamber, the right auricle. What type of blood is getting collected in the right auricle? Deoxygenated blood brought from the body parts by two major veins. And which are those two major veins? These are known as the two major veins, vena cava. Now, you have in your book, now for this you have to refer to the diagram in your book also. In your book, this words vena cava is not mentioned, but it is written. Vena cava, is it mentioned in your book? No, volume no. In your textbook diagram, I think doesn't have this. Vena cava hai?
Yes.
Vena cava mentioned hai? Okay, then very good. Vena cava from the upper body, vena cava from the lower body. But now, with reference to the auricle and the ventricle, I talk about the right auricle first. Let us learn about the right auricle first. So, talking about the chambers of the heart, there are some differences that you should know. What are some differences? I first of all talk about the right auricle. What are some features about the right auricle you should remember? Number one, the right auricle is receiving blood. From where? The right auricle will receive blood from the body. The right auricle receives blood from the body. By the way of which type of blood vessel? Broad veins. From the body always veins will come out. What was the job of veins? Bring blood from the body to the heart. Already I told you all these things. Veins will always bring blood from the different body parts to the heart. But now I'm talking about those hundreds of veins coming from different parts of the body unite and result in the formation of big broad veins. What are these big broad veins known as? Vena cava. So I'm talking about the right auricle. The right auricle is getting blood from where? From the body parts. The liver, the stomach, the intestine, the muscles, etc., etc. From the body parts, so many veins will unite, resulting in the formation of big broad veins known as vena cava. But now, when we are talking about the vena cava, there are two broad vena cava in our body. One collecting blood from the upper parts of the body and putting it into the right auricle. The other big broad vein collecting blood from the lower parts of the body and still pouring it into the right auricle only. So now this vena cava that I talk about, this vena cava, how many? We are talking about the vena cava from the upper body. There are names to this. Vena cava from the upper body, vena cava from the lower body. So both these two vena cava will empty their blood where? They will empty their blood into the right auricle. Now the blood is filled into the right auricle. Clear? So far what I told you. So what are these broad veins? Vena cava. Two big broad veins from the upper body, from the lower body, carrying the deoxygenated blood and putting it into the right auricle. The right auricle will always collect deoxygenated blood. But now that the right auricle is collecting the deoxygenated blood, now next what? After some time, the blood from the right auricle has to move down to the next chamber, because these are muscular walls. The entire wall of the right atrium, right auricle, is made up of smooth muscles. Once the vessel, once the chamber is little bit filled with blood, the muscles will start contracting. So now what is happening? This right chamber, that is the right auricle, is filling blood. From where? Veins, broad veins. Now that it is little bit filled with blood, what will happen? The walls start contracting. Once the walls start contracting, what will happen now? The blood will start moving down. But when it was filling blood, was it dripping down? No. When the blood was filling here, it was not dripping down to the ventricle. Q? Because there are some muscular flaps between the right auricle and the right ventricle. There are some muscular flaps which were relaxed and closed. When the right auricle was filling blood, these were closed. So that's the reason the right auricle filling blood was not dripping down. These muscular flaps were closed. What did we name these muscular flaps in the veins also? Valves. So now from the right auricle, where will the blood go? From the right auricle, the blood has to go down to the right ventricle. So what type of blood will the right ventricle receive? The blood is moving down from the right auricle to right ventricle. What type of blood the right ventricle will receive? Deoxygenated. What are these muscular flaps between the right auricle and the right ventricle known as? Let us learn this name. What is it? Tricuspid valve. What is it? Tricuspid valve. So we will have to complete one flow chart. So what is this valve here? This is known as tricuspid valve. You can just follow this flow chart. I'm going to complete the entire flow chart. I say, Liko, this will be a ready reference. Immediately you should be able to understand which pathway. So now, when we are talking about the blood which is flowing from the right auricle to the right ventricle. Now the blood is here. What is the type of the blood? Deoxygenated. But for the blood filling up in the right ventricle, which valve had to contract? Now that the moment this chamber is filling blood, the tricuspid valve जो अब तक relaxed and closed था, it will start contracting. Contract होते होते it will make a pathway. So जैसे ये contract होके a pathway will be formed, the blood will start rushing down. The blood is rushing down. So in this process of rushing down, which chamber is contracting? Auricle contracting. Ventricle is filling blood. Abhi ventricle is filling blood, auricle is contracting. Here, and the last part of the chapter, we are going to study blood pressure and all these. So I'm going to introduce these two terms here itself. So now, during this process, when the blood is rushing down from the right ventricle to the, right auricle to the right ventricle, which valve should open? Tricuspid. ये chamber contract हो रहा है. This chamber is relaxing. What is the contraction of the heart wall known as systole? And what is the relaxation of the heart wall known as diastole? All of you will take a note of this. ये last part में हमें पढ़ना ही है, but you should understand with this right now. Diastole of right ventricle. तो diastole का मतलब क्या है? Relaxing of the heart wall to fill in blood. This has to fill in blood, so definitely it will relax. This has to squeeze out the blood, so definitely this contract. Okay. So now the blood is in the right ventricle. What type of blood? Deoxygenated. Where now next? This blood, the moment the right ventricle has filled in little bit of blood, slowly this tricuspid will again relax and close down. So whatever amount of blood is filled in here has to get some way to go out. So what will happen? This blood from the right ventricle now will start moving into a blood vessel which arises from the right ventricle. What is this vessel known as? This vessel is known as pulmonary artery. So when the right ventricle has filled in adequate blood, तो क्या हुआ अभी? Tricuspid valve is relaxing and closing down. Because यहाँ पे भी अभी blood कम हो गया. That force pressure अभी कम हो गया. So this tricuspid will relax होके बंद हो जाएगा फिर से. But then whatever amount of blood has gathered here, that has to find a way. Now this blood will enter into a blood vessel, which is this blood vessel जो that arises from the upper region of the right ventricle. What is this blood vessel known as? Pulmonary artery. But pulmonary artery and right ventricle के बीच में भी one pair of valves है. What is this pair of valves? Can you see there in the figure? Look into your book also. These names you have to be very clear about. Can you see a pair of valves at the base or between the pulmonary artery and the right ventricle? There is a pair of valves, this pair of valves I am talking about, this one. Can you see? So there is a pair of valves between the right ventricle, the pulmonary artery and the right ventricle. Which one I am talking about? Only this. Look into this one, which is closed now. But when the blood will be rushed from here, it will open and this will close. So जैसे ही tricuspid close हो जाएगा, this valve will open because blood यहाँ पे अगर ज़्यादा देर रहा, it will develop pressure. There are chances that the chamber में or the wall में tear off. So वो कभी नहीं होता है. The moment this is closed, this will have to open so that the blood finds a way to go out. So this deoxygenated blood will enter into the pulmonary artery now. To go where? Lungs. To undergo what process? Exchange of gases. Exchange of gases. So this blood from the right ventricle, where is this blood from the right ventricle going? The blood from the right ventricle is going to the pulmonary artery. The blood in the pulmonary artery is still deoxygenated and आ रहा है समझ में कि मैं बंद करूं? आ रहा है समझ में? Exhausted? Exhausted? No. आ रहा है समझ में कि ब्लॉक हो चुका है ऑलरेडी? Look at their faces. एक तो सब गिरने वाले हैं अभी. सीधा बैठो सब. Sit straight. Take a deep breath. Look at him. He's almost going to faint as if. पानी पियो. AC is on or what? इसने 27 किया. Okay, so I'll just take half of it. पूरा मैं नहीं explain कर रही हूँ, पूरा नहीं समझ में आएगा. So I talk about the right ventricle. So what type of blood in the right ventricle? Deoxygenated. Once the right ventricle is filled, now next part, the tricuspid will close and one more valve between the pulmonary artery and this will open. So what is that valve known as? This valve is known as the pulmonary semilunar valve. What is it called? Pulmonary. Now these valves are semilunar. Check the spelling. Semilunar valve. Which valve am I talking about? This one. This one. The small one between the pulmonary artery and the right ventricle. इसका नाम है pulmonary semilunar. Pulmonary अगर याद नहीं भी है, semilunar also if you write it's okay. Okay. But pulmonary is a specific name. Pulmonary अगर समझो एग्जाम के टाइम पे याद नहीं भी रहा, semilunar लिखना है, then also it is okay. So now the blood is moving to the pulmonary artery. From the pulmonary artery, now the blood which is moving, is it deoxygenated? Yes. The blood which is moving from the pulmonary artery to the lungs is deoxygenated blood. So pulmonary artery now will carry the blood to the lungs. But this pulmonary artery actually divides into two branches. Can you see? This is one branch of the pulmonary artery and this is the other branch of the pulmonary artery. Can you see?
Yeah.
In your diagram, in the diagram of the book also, if it is not marked, you can mark it also. This is also the pulmonary artery. So this is the right side of the pulmonary artery, right branch, right trunk of the pulmonary artery. And this is the left trunk of the pulmonary artery. So this will go to the right lungs and this will go to the left lungs. Clear hai? So far half of the process, half of the structure of the heart we are talking about. So the right auricle receives blood from where? From the body parts. From the body parts, the right auricle will receive blood by two prominent veins. Which are the two veins? Vena cava from the lower body, vena cava from the upper body. What type of blood does the vena cava carry? Deoxygenated always, because the blood is coming from the body parts. Collect here. After filled up little bit, the wall of the right auricle will contract, also known as systole. Systole of the heart. What is the meaning of systole of the heart? Whenever the heart walls are contracting, usko systole bolenge. Did you ever come across your parents talking about systolic, diastolic blood pressure?
Yes.
No? Kabhi na kabhi to suna hoga. Haan. So when we are talking about that, your parents must be talking about blood pressure, your grandparents must be talking about systolic, diastolic blood pressure. That is very common. Now today, more than 60% population suffering from hypertension. Hypertension is a very, very common disorder nowadays. So when we are talking about hypertension, what is it? In the later part of the chapter, we are going to understand the pressure of the blood in the walls of the heart, vessels later. So now that I talk about that, this chamber is contracting. What is that word? Systole. This chamber is relaxing. What is that word? Diastole. Right atrium, right ventricle filled with blood. What is the next step? The blood will go to the pulmonary artery. Which valve should remain open? Pulmonary semilunar. Then the blood is rushing into the pulmonary artery and going to the right and the left lungs.
Which one is connected to the lungs?
Which one meaning? ये दोनों ही. This will now. This is the artery. This will now divide. Remember, I have given you the relation. This artery will now divide into hundreds of capillaries, which will run over the alveolus. So this is the pulmonary artery. This is also the pulmonary artery, which will run over the right and the left lungs. Both of them are connected to the lungs, but they on the way they get divided, bifurcate. They divide into a large number of capillaries, and the capillaries will actually show the process of exchange of gases. Okay, we are yet to complete this entire process. We'll have to complete this entire process. The other part we'll have to look into the next day. So far, look into the diagram of the heart. So far. 5 minutes, otherwise I'll give you break. 5 minutes. थोड़ा सा और हम करेंगे. 5 minutes, just go through. So far, what I told you, if there is any doubt about the arteries, veins, capillaries, whatever I spoke, composition of the blood, कुछ भी doubt है, clarify करो.
So ma'am, first the deoxygenated blood from the body parts is received through the
Vena cava. Vena cava.
How it enters to that part of the chapter.
Right auricle.
Then the right ventricle. Now it passes through. Then
Then
it is divided.
pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery will rise up from the right ventricle and bifurcate. तो एक right lung में जाएगा, एक left lung में जाएगा. But before it enters the lungs and the alveolus, it will spread up into a network of capillaries. So I have shown you the images for the alveolus. So surrounding the alveolus, there is a network, hundreds and hundreds of capillaries formed by the division of pulmonary artery. Okay.
So what is the meaning of systole?
Systole means contraction of the heart walls. Whenever the heart wall is contracting, it can be the auricle, it can be the ventricle, anything. When the heart wall is contracting, smooth muscles, no, they will contract as per the need of the body. Heart wall contracting, systole. Heart wall relaxing, diastole. ठीक है? Wherever you are writing this, leave space. Don't write anything now. We will complete the entire flow chart. इसमें और भी बहुत कुछ सीखना बाकी है. The entire process of double circulation can be studied. ये पेज छोड़ो. I give you 5 questions. Try answering the basic concepts what we have studied today. हाँ बोलो.
Capillaries are in the villus and
Capillaries are in the villus also. Capillaries in the villus also. क्योंकि if I talk about the artery which is running from the heart to the stomach, that will also divide into hundreds of vessels. Those are known as capillaries, which will also be there in the villus. So body parts and tissues में it is always the capillaries. Heart on the way, heart से body parts the arteries are there which divides into a number of capillaries. But again, these capillaries will unite also, form veins and come back to the heart. Okay. So all throughout our body we have got those tubes in a network. Tubes in a network. Chalo, just try with 5 questions, see if you are able to understand right on your own. Number 1. Why is the blood red in color? Specific words लिखना है. Key terms. Answer में होना चाहिए. Why is the blood red in color? In 2 lines. Number 2. Number 2. Name the membranous. Name the membranous. Membranous spelling आता है. membrananeous. Membrane. Name the membranous and bony covering. Bony, B-O-N-Y. Bony covering of the heart. Name the membranous and bony covering. This page all of you will leave, huh? ये पूरा complete एक साथ you should write. Name the membranous and bony covering of the heart. 1 line for the answer. Number 3. Number 3. How is the backflow of blood in the veins? How is the backflow of blood in the veins prevented? How is the backflow of the blood in the veins prevented? 2 lines for the answer. Number 3. 3 है. 4 है. Okay. State the function of WBCs. State the function of WBCs. Full stop. State the function of WBCs. Full stop. Why are they known as amoeboid cells? Amoeboid spelling याद है? Amoeba कैसे spelling? A-M-O-E-B-A. अभी यहाँ पे A-M-O-E-B-O-I-D. Why are they known as amoeboid cells? The last one, number 4. Leave around 2-3 lines for the answer. Number 5, last, number 5.
Number 6.
हाँ 6 कैसे हो गया?
5 है.
5 है. ये दो सेम क्वेश्चन है.
Okay.
Okay. Last, number 5. What type of blood is collected in the right auricle? What type of blood is collected in the right auricle? What type of blood is collected in the right auricle and why? What type of blood is collected in the right auricle and why? Fast. What is meant by systole and diastole? सबने लिखा? If not, you write that separately as a question. ये भूलना नहीं है. The last part of the chapter, blood pressure, when we talk about, you should be able to understand. चलो start. 10 minutes में फटाफट finish करो. If there is a doubt, clarify. Doubt है, clarify. Page 23. You are supposed to write on your own. What is there?
No, menstrual and diastole
खुद से लिखने की कोशिश करो. You don't understand, I'll explain you again. Nobody will discuss the answers. अपने से लिखने की कोशिश करो. Wherever there's a doubt, clarify करो, then write on your own. Confusion है? Any confusion? नहीं? Right, all and why? हाँ तो why का बोलो ना, मैंने 4 बार बोला, याद रखो. What did I tell you? The blood is deoxygenated. Why? Because the blood is coming from the body parts by the way of the vena cava. The blood is coming, the blood is being brought from the body parts by the vena cava. So, blood from the body parts हमेशा deoxygenated ही होगा. All of you will show me your work fast. जो नहीं दिखाएगा तो नहीं जाए.
I'm done.
Give your pen. Membranous. Like that reference you have to write. ठीक है। वो ओनी ओनी का भी क्या है? हाँ क्या बाबा स्टूडेंट क्या है? cover protective cover of the heart हाँ और ओनी का भी क्या है? Don't know. I wrote the questions separately. Give me a minute. Only cover. Done. Why dear Emmy boy?
Ma'am, there, I forgot to write this answer.
We will write now.
Yeah, yeah. I know, ma'am, actually, I forgot.
Then we can लिखा check करो.
Yeah.
आपको फाइंड क्या लिखना चाहिए? See, number 5, are you not clear? If not clear, yes, I will explain it. ये आंसर नहीं है. This is the last question. Can you write it? Actually, you only want to do बाकी questions. नहीं, only cover, only protective cover and membranous. Membranous cover हमेशा soft होता है. Only casing क्या है मतलब? Strips. नहीं, why did you write so much? ये biology है, history नहीं है, again I repeat. इतना क्यों लिखना? Science में इतना लंबा आंसर कौन लिखता है? It is just a 1 mark question. What is the type of blood collected in the right auricle? क्या है? What type of blood is the बस हो गया. Why? It is brought from the body parts by the way of. बस इतना इतना. No answer not right. That is too much. और बाकी questions check. Oh my God, why somebody doing everybody? Good. And number 5. No, this is this one again. This kind of yours. What is this?
Red, dark red,
Ah.
red, dark red.
Why is the blood red in color? क्या dark है? नहीं, बस red in color. Why is the blood red in color?
ये वो किस क्या?
Nobody remembers about the poor ribs which is protecting the heart so much. हाँ?
मैंने इसका याद है वो दूसरा वाला ही भूल गया
पता चलेगा जब ये अपना फंक्शन बंद करेगा
नहीं मैम उल्टा हूँ मैं रिप्लेस का याद था दूसरे का भूल गया हाँ I got it. Second one.
इसमें एमोइड तो लिखा है अंदर फंक्शन ऑफ डब्ल्यूबीसी कौन लिखेगा तो मैंने तो दिया था वो दो ही वर्ड लिखना है यू डोंट हैव टू राइट डिटेल्स फंक्शन ऑफ ब्लड सेल्स को एक ही फंक्शन ही है phagocytosis release of antibodies provide immunity ये सारी चीजें बेसिक है
I think it's the second. Membrane.
हां एक मिनट रुको इसमें बांगा रुको deoxygenated from the body part हां ठीक है
Go there.
एक दो चीज तुमने मिस किया वो लिखो
आपको दे एक box.
releasing or producing spelling correct so this small is numbers एमीबॉइड क्यों है कौन लिखेगा
Written and made a different question by mistake.
from the body the blood is being brought by vena cava from the body so now we have been discussed question before
It's fine. Something.
from the body see as I tell you you may know the topic but unless and until you put it on the paper
I think.
इसका है ये मेरा ये किसका है ये किसका है वो क्रॉस
No,
this is yours yes नहीं the blood in the right auricle is deoxygenated Q because it is coming from the body by the way of the vena body से आएगा तो blood deoxygenated ही होगा so that's what it is okay वो मार्क करके रखो घर जाके अच्छी तरह सामने लिखते हैं who's his name yours Myra what prevents backflow pericardium and ribs किसका है pericardium and ribs ये किसका है yours yours
yes, no.
yes backflow Raja please how is the backflow of the blood prevented valves either because of the presence of valves why they are amoeboid because they can change shapes body parts by the vena cava ये नेक्स्ट क्लास मुझे बताना ये भी और ये किसका पेनिट्रेट